Hi everyone, I'm back again with another vlog, this time an article summary on the article explaining disproportionately high rates of adverse birth outcomes among African Americans, the impact of stress, racism, and related factors in pregnancy by Cheryl L. Giscombe and Marcy Lobel. So the authors of this article discuss the problem, adverse birth outcomes in African Americans. Overall, the infant mortality rate, or IMR, has decreased significantly in the U.S., but Giscombe and Lobel write that despite the fact that the IMR has declined significantly among the general population in America over this period of time, infant mortality is at least 2 times more prevalent in African Americans than in European Americans. Preterm delivery and low birth weight can be factors in infant mortality, and many Black women also experience disproportionately high rates of both. So, what causes these adverse birth outcomes? Giscombe and Lobel write, prevention efforts begin by examining the causes of adverse birth outcomes and their disparate rates among African Americans. Giscombe and Lobel choose to discuss two of the most prominent explanations of the disparity between African Americans and European Americans in birth outcomes. One, socioeconomic and behavioral differences that are confounded with ethnicity, and two, differences in stress between African Americans and European Americans. First, we will look at socioeconomic and behavioral explanations for birth outcome disparities. This includes factors like poverty, limited education, poor health behaviors, and poor access to health care. And although all these factors are important, Giscombe and Lobel write that they do not fully explain the birth outcome disparity. Studies have been conducted, but the disparity is still prevalent. For example, families living on military bases almost have the exact same living arrangements and access to health care, but the disparity still exists. After accounting for income, maternal age, education, substance use, prenatal care, and educational status, the disparity in adverse birth outcomes continues to be approximately twofold or greater. Giscombe and Lobel also look into the contribution of stress to birth outcome disparities. Pregnancy in itself is stressful, but African American women seem to deal with more prenatal maternal stress. To see if this was true, Giscombe and Lobel discussed the ethnic differences in levels or effects of stress. They wrote, conflicting evidence consists about whether African American women experience greater stress prenatally than do European American women. Although there is conflicting evidence, African American women may be more susceptible to stress due to things like allostatic load. Allostatic load is a concept of comprehensive and cumulative risk across multiple physiological and regulatory systems resulting from chronic exposure to life challenges or stressors that influence health outcomes across the lifespan. One contributor to allostatic load is discrimination or racism. Effects of racism on birth outcomes are consistent with those that would be expected if it were a component or type of stress. In their summary, Giscombe and Lobel write, although behavioral and social demographic factors increase risk for adverse birth outcomes, our review of the pertinent evidence indicates that these variables do not fully account for the disproportionately high rates of adverse birth outcomes in African Americans. They even go into issues for further discussion, including the heterogeneity of African Americans and the influence of African American culture on adverse birth outcomes, and methodological challenges, including different perceptions of racism, the role of study participants and researchers, and the importance of methodologically and theoretically sophisticated approaches to conceptualize and operationally define stress, racism, and socioeconomic status. In conclusion, Giscombe and Lobel write, examining the impact of such critical psychosocial variables as stress and racism and their complex interactive effects with behavior and physiology may not only illuminate how the life experiences of African American women influence birth outcomes, but also give us insight into explanations for other long-standing ethnic disparities in health in the United States. They also discuss ways to see this through other lenses. There still needs to be a discussion on the disparity between African American and European American women whose babies are normal birth weight, as well as a discussion on how coping in African American women can affect birth outcomes.